I'll start a pure feminist rant. And as a 13-year-old child who was pretty much boy obsessed, that was so outrageous to me. This is my little disclaimer now. I am the worst at pronouncing names. Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rebecca. I run a blog, a book talk, a bookstagram and a booktube where all I do is talk about books as they are my favourite thing in the whole entire world. Before I get into today's video, I just wanted to say a really quick thank you to anyone who follows me on book talk. My book talk just hit 600 followers, which is very exciting, very good news. I've had that book talk for years, and in the past month or two I've just started taking it a wee bit more serious and trying to get more content out and be more regular and reach out to more and more people, and it is paying off. So I'm really grateful and I love every single one of you. If you follow me on book talk and then followed my booktube, I really appreciate it. And if you are watching my video for the first time and you haven't checked out my book talk, you should definitely check it out, because if you like the content over here, you'll definitely like the content over there. I post multiple times a day about the books that I'm reading, the books I want to read, or just about books in general. For today's video here though, we are going to talk about the 10 books that I reread every single year. It is quite a list, it's actually longer than 10. I am a very huge comfort reader. I love rereading the same thing over and over again because I just form such an emotional connection to some of the characters in the books that I read, that rereading the books just feels like catching up with friends or going home, or it feels warm and inviting, and I really love that feeling and I'm obsessed. So I would really rather reread the same book that I've read 100 times than start a new one, but I'm also too nosy, so I get really curious about other books and I'm like, oh fine, I'll read it, and then I end up in love with it, and then it gets added to the list of all the books that I need to reread. So the list is never ending, but I've picked out 10 of the most, I don't even want to say the most favourites, because some of my favourites aren't even on this list, I'd say, but here's 10 of them anyway, and I'm going to start with one that I do not have. I do not have a copy of this book because I love these books so much. I've reread them like 3 times now. I really want to experience going to the shops to get these books. I don't want them to appear in my room, I don't want them to appear on my shelves. I would even appreciate my partner even gifting me these books, but I really want to appreciate going to like Waterstones or the Book Lovers bookshop, or do you know, anywhere. I don't even care where I buy them. I just want to go see them and be like, you're coming home with me like this time. Like I said that when I was in Edinburgh, if I found them then I was going to get them, and I didn't find them, but I did find another series by the same author, so I was okay. But I really want to experience going to get these books and taking them home myself, so I keep putting off buying them. I've read these books like 3 times now, and I get them on Kindle Unlimited every single time, so I really should just buy them myself. So the first book on this list is the Dirty Air series by Lauren Asher. Now I love Lauren Asher. Some of her books, actually pretty much all her books, should be on this list. Like every single one of her books should be on this list. Lauren Asher is one of those authors that can make any book, any 2 characters, any setting, any storyline, any plot, no matter what she writes, it will feel like home to me. It will feel like comfort. It will feel like sitting in bed wrapped up in a cozy blanket and just feeling at peace. That is the way Lauren Asher writes, and that's why I love her books so much. And the reason that the Dirty Air series is on this list and not her other books is because the Dirty Air series is the series that got me into F1. I never ever watched F1 before this. I read these books, I read about this world, and I was like, I'm going to watch a race. I'm going to watch a race for fun. 3 years later, I am now utterly obsessed with F1, and I watch every single race weekend. I know all the drama that's going on. I'm obsessed with every single driver. I know who everyone's dating. I know too much about these guys that I never would have known about if I didn't pick up these books. So I'm really grateful to Lauren for that. But yeah, the Dirty Air series, I love to reread. I try to read it every year before the F1 season starts. Like, you know how some people watch, what is it, Drive to Survive? I have never watched Drive to Survive, but I do read the Dirty Air series to get me in the mood. And I haven't actually read it yet this year because I've had so many other books like from the library and things to read. But maybe I will. Maybe it's coming in the next couple of weeks. It is probably coming. It is definitely coming. I will definitely reread these books, especially now that the weather's getting nicer. I just feel it's the perfect time to read any of Lauren Asher books. Just saying. This list is in no particular order, by the way. But the next book on the list is Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. You're going to learn really quickly that I'm the worst at saying author names, and I do have to just apologise. This is my little disclaimer now. I am the worst at pronouncing names, so I am sincerely sorry. Now, this is completely different than every other book on the list. The rest are pretty much romance or fantasy, or both. Now, I really like rereading this because I think sometimes I need the reminder of what is like the growth mindset is all about. I think sometimes I need to check in with myself and my mindset, because every time I read this I'm like, right, that's it. From now on we're only having a growth mindset and we're going to grow and glow. We're going to focus on progress and not perfection. But it doesn't always work out that way, so I do like to reread this as often as I can. It does end up being once a year. As you can see, it's all tabbed and I have like pages and pages of highlights in here from when I've read it. I have notes on my iPad and Storygraph of my thoughts on this book. I would definitely recommend reading this book, you know, just to learn about how you word things or how you think about things can have like a major effect on the results of what comes out of your day-to-day life or your learning, not even in education but in interacting with yourself and the way you talk to yourself and the impact that can have, or the way you talk to others and the impact that can have on them. It all really starts in your head and with your thoughts, and how you talk to yourself and how you talk to others. It can have like a very big ripple effect on everything. So I really love to reread this, and this is one of the like self-help, self-improvement kind of books that I would really recommend, so definitely give it a read. The third book on this series is the Bridgerton series, and if you know the Bridgerton series, you'll know that this is not the first book in the series, and the reason I'm not showing the first book in the series is because I do not like the first book. I like the rest of the series. I like Queen Charlotte. I don't like Daphne in the first book because of her actions, and if you know, you know, but I'm not going to get into it because I'll start a pure feminist rant. I don't agree with what Daphne does, and when I first read Bridgerton, that almost stopped me from reading the rest of the books because of her actions. Then I got too curious, and I've seen people saying online that no one kind of repeated what Daphne did, so I got curious. I reread the rest. I have half in paperback and I have half on my iPad, and I do reread them in the summer. I do reread the first book. I just skip that section because I don't support it. I do really love the Bridgerton series and I love the vibes, and it is something that I reread in the summer for fun. So the fourth book on the list is Dune. I've read this like 3-4 times. I'm kind of obsessed. I feel like every time I read it as well, something different stands out to me, something clicks, and that's why I think I like rereading it, because I get like a different perspective on it. I gain more perspective on it. I connect with different things. I still haven't finished the whole series though. I can't read through the whole thing. It loses me about halfway through, but every time I reread it I get further and further in the series. But the first one is the only ones that I have in paperback, and I have the hardback, but I don't actually read either this or the hardback. They just sit on my shelf and look pretty. The only ones I actually read are on my Kindle. I can see myself sitting with this book in my lap, and because of how heavy the world building is and how I feel like it's quite thought-provoking, like introspective, if that's the right word. Clearly not my cup of tea, but just because of how much it makes me think and use my brain, I don't always want to sit with a thick book like that. I prefer the Kindle where I'm not having to, because this is daunting. This is daunting to me sometimes, and as much as I enjoy doing, if I was to sit with this, like if I bought this book first before reading it on my Kindle, I probably would have went, bye. But luckily I didn't, and now it is one of my favourites, so I do reread it quite a bit. The next book on this list is one that I've had for years, and according to Storygraph, I haven't reread this as much as I thought I had, but also I've had this since before I even had Storygraph, before I even had Goodreads, so there's no telling how many times I've actually reread this book. But it is the Gallagher Girls series by Ali Carter. Now, this book has been through some stuff. It is a very well-worn book. It is falling apart. I think I talked about that in my bookshelf tour, where it's just it's seen better days. But is one of my favourites. It has been for years. If anyone out there has a young daughter and is looking for books that aren't focused on romance, this is the one that I would recommend, because it's so good. These girls are so intelligent that I'm so jealous. And it's all about women being strong, like girls being strong, girls being smart, girls being hyper independent, girls being beautiful, inspiring women. And I loved this growing up. I was always the kind of like, I always kind of like books over everything, and I always liked learning, but when I got to my teenage years, I stopped liking learning because I was so uncool. Like, it was so uncool to be smart. And this was the kind of book that made me realise that it is actually okay to be smart, and being smart is actually a really great thing. So I love rereading this once a year to remind myself of that. And honestly, when I reread this book and a couple of the others on this list, I feel like I'm going back and like connecting with my younger self again. I don't know, is that weird? I don't know if that's weird, but I just feel like this brings me back to like my childhood, and it is such nostalgia. Like, some people say the books like Harry Potter and Narnia connect them with their inner child and feel like going back to their childhood, but for me it's this one. I love it. I am obsessed, and I'd actually love a more like YA, like older YA version of this, I think. Also, one of the characters in this is called Rebecca, but everyone calls her Bex, and for ages I went by the name, like I wanted everyone to call me Bex, and it never stuck. And now I'm older, I actually really love the name Rebecca more than I love Bex. I think Rebecca suits me more, but yeah, that gave me like a nickname for a while. The sixth book on this series is another kind of pre-teeny book, young adult pre-teeny. It is a Geek Girl, and this is one that I've been rereading since I was probably like 13, 14. I haven't actually reread it in like a year or two, because when the show came out, the show really put me off these books. To me, the show was not as good as the books were. It's like I just think I always think the book is better, and I don't know why I had such high expectations for the series for this one, but I wanted it to be better, and when it wasn't better I got really upset, and then I didn't want to read this anymore. But this is like going back to my childhood. I have very strong memories of me reading this book for the first time, and again, it was one of those books that got me feeling okay to be smart and to want to learn and wanting to understand and wanting to engage with education. I just really loved it. It is a bit more romance heavy and a bit more boy obsessed than Gallagher Academy, but I also feel like a lot of Harriet's thoughts, like I think there's a lot of conversation now about how Harriet was probably autistic, and I do actually see that. Like, I connected a lot with Harriet, and I can see a lot of myself in Harriet, and I think that's why I like rereading this so much, because it's very hard to find good female autistic representation, and that's like a whole other video I could do on that. But growing up, I didn't have access to that. I didn't even think Harriet was autistic, because to me, her thoughts, her feelings, her processing of things was normal, and it was the one time that I found it normal, and it didn't even like occur to me that it was because she could be autistic or anything like that. It was just like, oh, it's nice to have someone who gets it, to read something and be like, I connect with this makes sense to me. You know, because growing up I heard all about autistic boys. I was surrounded by autistic boys. I'd only ever really met autistic boys because I got diagnosed really young as well. So it was nice to have something where I felt understood, even if I didn't understand why I felt understood. So I do love this. I do love Geek Girls, and I would recommend it. But the show I probably would not recommend. Book number 7 on my list is Delirium by Lauren Oliver. I seem to have a thing for authors with the name Lauren. They always seem to find their way onto my favourite list, but this book I read when I was in high school. My teacher basically wanted me to go sit quietly in a corner for a bit. I was probably annoying her. And she was like, here Rebecca, read this, I think you'll like it. And I went away and I became instantly hooked. I love it. Essentially, the government in this book has decided that love is a disease and that no one should ever fall in love, and that love makes you sick and it makes you crazy and it makes you all these horrible things. And as a 13-year-old child who was pretty much boy obsessed, that was so outrageous to me. I was outraged and I was angry and I was like, I am so on their side. And this was like the first dystopian novel that I had really read. I hadn't read like Hunger Games, I hadn't read Divergent, I hadn't read Maze Runner, I hadn't read, I don't even know what the others are, Uglies or anything like that. I hadn't read any dystopian novels. This was my first, and I swear, if you love the Hunger Games, if you love Divergent, if you love Uglies, like, this is the book. This is the book you need to read. This is one of them. I really want dystopian novels to make a comeback because this needs more love. This needs more attention. I really feel like this is one of the books that would actually go viral on TikTok because it's so good and I am obsessed. Book number 8 on this list is a little different than the others again. It is Little Women. I just love Little Women. It's such a comfort read, especially to read around Christmas time. Like, it has to be read in the winter. Just such a like cozy winter night in kind of vibe to me. And I don't even feel like it's the story that I like. I feel like the story can be quite sad and traumatic. I think it's more the characters. Like, I never had sisters growing up, so this like group of sisters, it just, I don't know, maybe I just romanticize it and I'm like, oh, it'd be great. And in reality it probably wouldn't be that great, but I love it. I'm definitely an Amy, maybe a bit of Beth, but I am definitely an Amy. I think growing up I wanted to be Jo, but I was not Jo. I'm not Jo. I am 100% Amy, and I have no regrets about that one. The next 2 books on this list are going to come at no surprise to anyone, but then book number 9 is The Host by Stephanie Meyer. The first time I read this, I wanted nothing to do with it. I got like halfway through it and I was like, bye, I'm bidding you. So I DNF'd it. And then a year later I came back to it because I initially borrowed it from the library. So I borrowed it from the library again. I reread it and I was hooked. Like, I was utterly hooked. It ends on a cliffhanger and it really annoys me because I know Stephanie Meyer has pretty much lost interest in writing, or feels no pressure to write anymore. And I don't feel like we're gonna get the rest of this story, and I feel like there's more that can be told and there's more to explore in this world. I also feel like she could totally pull a like Suzanne Collins and start making commentary on the world around us currently through her books. Like, she is the perfect opportunity with this one, to me anyway. This is all just my opinion, but I don't think she will, and it really upsets me. Like, a bit of a controversial opinion, but I don't want another Twilight book. I would definitely, I mean, I know, I do want another Twilight book, but I would rather have more of this than another Twilight. I think there's more to be told here, whereas Twilight was wrapped up in a pretty little bow. So I feel like seeing more of the Cullens would be pointless. I feel like seeing more of this would be something worth reading, something worth spending her time writing. But I don't think we're ever going to get it. I really don't think we're ever going to get another Host book, which is a shame because it's such a like interesting world and it's such an interesting concept. But I think she's made her money off Twilight and that is it. Which, speaking of Twilight, the last book on this list, shocker to no one, is Twilight. Now, according to Storygraph, I have reread this book at least 7 times because I have had it since way before I started tracking my reading. This is one of the books that got me into reading, got me interested in reading. And I can't help it. Reading Twilight is like coming home, and do you know, they feel, at this point they feel like my family, like these are my family. I've reread these books so much and I read so much fan fiction about this series that honestly I should just write my own fan fiction at this point. I love Twilight. Twilight has got me through some of the darkest times of my life. It has also been through some of the best times of my life. I have reread this so many times. I can read the whole series in about a week if I really want to. I love it. I love it. This is one of my favourite books of all time, and I'm so close to rereading it again because it's just like to me Twilight is like a warm hug. And now don't get me wrong, there is definitely flaws in this book, there is definitely some problematic relationships, and I feel so sorry for poor Charlie, but I do love it. This is one of my all-time favourites, so of course it had to be on this list. But that is it. That is 10 of the books that I reread every year. There is 100% more either behind me or on my poor little Kindle that just suffers. So that is today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed ranting about my books. There's probably so much that I just have to cut out of this because I've talked too much. I've been filming this for about an hour and this is probably going to be like a 15-minute video, knowing me. But that is my list. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be posting again next Friday, but if you want to see more from me between now and then, definitely go check out my social medias or my blog. They'll be linked down below, but on every social media account I am Rebecca Bryson Books. Or if you want to check out my personal accounts, they are Rebecca Bryson 21. And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Pinterest. I will see you guys next week. Bye! It is little